Hello, it's Corbett Harrison here, and there I am a little bit bigger. Welcome to the video of the week for our class. This will be more information on interactive notebooks. Welcome to it. I think I have some information that will help inspire a better interactive notebook out of you. So let's get started. First of all, I'm appearing on the book that did it all for me. Dinah Zyk's Notebook Foldables is where I started when I was looking for ideas on this thing I was hearing about called interactive notebooks, and I started there, used some of them, and then moved beyond it. But if you're looking for a foundational place, you can't go wrong with Dinah Zyk's. In my classroom, we actually keep two types of notebooks that I would call interactive in the sense that they are interactive. I'm language arts, remember. First of all, we keep writer's notebooks, and I keep these because I believe it's important that every single day students practice writing. That's just a belief I have. If you practice the piano every day, you will get better at it. If you practice writing every day, you will get better at it. That's just the way that it is. And so 10 minutes we give to our writer's notebooks in class every day. They work on skills, they practice creativity, but the topics that they write about, they don't need to be school-based. I just want them to write and to feel the process of writing and to go through the thinking one needs. They are encouraged to use different ways to share their information. They don't just always write Dear Diary entries or a big block paragraph that says, yesterday, here's what I thought about. They come with ideas, and they also come with interesting ways to express them. Then there are interactive notebooks, and rather than free topic time, it's content-based topics. And when students record content, they also have the opportunity to reflect on that content, and I insist that it be in a personal or a unique way. And then students are also encouraged to try to find ways, because they know their ultimate goal is they have to share their page with a partner or with a small group. They try to find ways to make their pages interactive, so it's not just a passive listener sharing or having a page shared with them. It's someone who has a purpose for being there. We call that interactivity. And so first thing I want to say, though, is don't be intimidated by my teacher models. Dina, my wife, told me to tell you that. When I create a teacher model, I do spend an extra 45 minutes on it, really trying to make it stand out, because usually they're based on an assignment I'm planning to do with my students, and I want them to see what one can look like if it's original and it looks good. And I have plenty of students who turn in notebook pages that don't look this good. I have plenty of students who see the example and say, I can do something like that, or I can do even better. And that's actually what I'm trying to promote when I show good teacher models. Just side note. So there I'm about interactive notebooks. Let me just share the 3 bullet points today that go under interactive notebooks. The first being my interactive notebooks, when we use them with content that I want my students to go deeper with, or to use as a future reference page. And you'll find this is a website that has a lot of different examples. There's a lot of stuff like this. It's very much cut outable. This particular one is printed, it looks like, in color already for you. I don't know how much content students learn by cutting out and pasting and creating pages like this. I like the idea of the left page where the students have to use post-its and interact with the information, show that they figured out what the main idea is. That's the circle, that's the pictures mound, write it on a post-it, goes there, then your key details. I like that element, but I don't see that there's any student writing going on here other than some quick summary notes on those post-its. I would like to have a page maybe after this page in a writer's notebook where students save space to actually write their own paragraphs about main ideas and have key details. I'm missing that element here, but again, content is what's key here. There is content being presented in this page. Here's another page that presents content. I call these note takers. You have a nice thing that you can color. I guess that teaches something, but coloring it is perhaps engaging them in the information, but then a place over there on the right hand side where they can reflect on it. I would certainly hope if I flipped those things up that there would be personal reflections about each of those written. I don't know what they would be, but the key with me with a good interactive notebook page is there's no white space. White space is all used. This to me, and this is from the Funky and Forth website, is a cool foldable for a notebook because it leaves all sorts of really great white space around it where students have that opportunity. First of all, they're learning this content, but they have that opportunity to write things at different points or all on the same day around the foldable that ends up being in the notebook. And that leads me to the second bullet in those three about interactive notebooks, and that when students record content, they reflect on it in a way that's personal to them. How does this information affect me or make me think personally? And all that white space is just beautiful for that. I think what I would do if I was using this one, I would probably have, I think the word advertisement, I would probably have my students decide which of the 4 triangles is the best or the most useful to mankind. And then I would ask them to write an advertisement, either a radio advertisement, a YouTube advertisement, plan it out on the rest of the page where they sell me on why that is the most useful triangle to all of mankind. Or if they want to better create an even more challenging, have them do an advertisement for one of the lesser triangles once they make that decision. Sell one of the lesser ones, but sell it like you believe it's as good as one of the best ones. And so just things that you can do. I like these ideas of foldables, but I really think it's important that reflection, the space is saved for the reflection. Here's another, I found this page just searching for interactive notebook pages from World War II. This is actually 2 pages, but I didn't have an image of the one on the left-hand side, but there was a timeline, and the big events are all pointed out that I assume the class is going to study. My hope is that this is a cover page and that they go into detail with each of these topics. For example, Pearl Harbor, because I don't think the 2 questions there are the most powerful questions. They all ask why, which, or in this case, there's a cause and effect there, but they're really not the most in-depth questions that it shows me that still students could explain it back to me, but even with the why in there, it doesn't feel like with answers like these I'm really pushing the students that deep, that much deeper within Bloom's taxonomy. And that's what the personal reflection does. I'm going to show you a page in a couple slots that would go really nicely as a personal reflection with these facts about World War II. Here's some things I would have kids do on another page. Find reasons why Japan attacked Pearl Harbor other than the main one, and then rate their importance. There's got to be other reasons besides that there was the blockade. And then, I know that we declared war on Japan and that we didn't have to declare war on Germany and Italy. They just did it because we declared it on Japan. I would like to know who else supported the attack and what their thinking was. That would be something interesting for me personally to go find out. And so there's a challenge for me to reflect personally. I teach myself to look for ways to reflect, and I teach my students to look for ways to reflect on information. So that's personally important to them. You can train them with all sorts of things like you see foldables like this. Some of them are just typing on them with typing on the inside. Some of them let the students do the writing on the inside. These to me are great scaffolding tools. Teach kids, if you just have things like this, then you'll only get students creating things like this when you ask them to do something original. These are great beginnings, but you want to go a little deeper because the idea is that you want to have a toolbox of ideas that go beyond just simple things like foldables, like unfold this to be interactive and find the answer. Develop a personal toolbox, and that's sort of what I'm trying to do in this particular class. I'm sharing some formats that I use with my students, and I want my students, when they share their pages with each other, here's the learning I did, here's how I reflected on that learning. I want it to be interactive. I don't want passive listening. I want them to hear how one another think so that they can learn from each other's metacognition. That's big in my classroom. And so if I have them do dialogue bubbles, you saw that model a few moments ago, I make sure that as they plan it, their job is to also have an answer in their head for a question they're going to ask the person they present it to. That's the interactive piece. So whose voice out of these 5 dialogue bubbles or 3 dialogue bubbles or 7 dialogue bubbles, whose voice is, insert superlative here, the loudest, the most realistic sounding, the most convincing, the least convincing? These are all sorts of things you could have kids look for in one another's writing, to interact. Same thing, if an important book passage, have an idea of what you want someone to look for as you're creating it. I'll give you some examples. And my big thing is teacher model. If you're going to require interactive notebooks, have some pages you can show your students that A, show how much effort you think go into a really good one, but B, show them how you use them to process thinking. Here again is my five dialogue bubble idea. Different people talking about a similar topic, and it's simple, all right, but it serves as a model of excellence that some kids shoot for, some kids shoot for just below, and some kids do try to shoot beyond it. When they shoot way below this, then I can bring out the teacher model and say, this is what you really want this to be. But here, I would not ask them to do a 5 dialogue page unless I had one to show them. Here's what I show my students that get them excited or interested, and then they think about it and plan it in the idea of what interactive question will they ask the person or persons that they share it with. Here's another teacher model. I mentioned important passages. These are inspired by The Important Book, just a format for writing every passage. The key is the middle details. The intro and the conclusion of an important passage are very predictable. The details inside are what you want people to focus on, and so you write them with this interactive question in mind. Which sentences best capture a detail, all right, so that the students have that ability to talk about what they've written when they're sharing it. Personal reflection with a little bit of interactivity built into it. This is one of my favorites. This is 51 Wacky Research Reports. I have to make the picture big here, and I'm not bragging, but if you look at the cover of Wacky Research, you will see a tiny version of the original art that I have from 51 Wacky Research Reports. Barry Lane sent me this after he came and presented at one of our classes, and again, I'm always proudly displaying that in my desk because I do use this book a lot. It's a great place to get ideas for unique ways to approach pages. This is not the way that Barry Lane does a crazy newscast. He does a crazy newscast where he has things like dolphins or amoebas give the news. I decided to adapt his idea, which is where great ideas come from. I adapted it based on this book, which is called Tabubu, which the very first page starts with a news reporter standing outside of a front of a house. And I just kind of like that concept of news reporting, that there's news vans that show up and news reporters stand out under umbrellas with lights on them catching breaking news as it's happening, and we haven't had them for very long. And so my idea of a crazy newscast here is that they capture it as an anachronism. So here is my crazy newscast on Valley Forge. Now see, something like this is a way to reflect on notes I maybe took on Revolutionary War, save a page where they can do something that's reflective but also interactive, because I could ask the question, or here's a student sample that came from this. I think this was Hector's sample. World War II, the night the Nazis and the Americans celebrated Christmas together is what they had learned about. So he did a newscast based on that. But when he presented it, his question was, hey, can you read this so that it actually sounds like a reporter's voice, the reporter I was thinking of? So the writing became self-reflective and the challenge became interactive. That's the big idea of an interactive notebook. That's what I'm asking you in my class for teachers to create examples of, so that your students would say, hey, I can make a page that looks that good or has similar qualities and elements to it. And please remember your final project, if you're a teacher taking my class where we're building interactive notebooks as our final project, 4 of those notebook pages, interactive pages, will be topics or formats that I as teacher will suggest, but the other 4, and this is what I want you to hear, those 4 are ones that you need to be finding the topics appropriate to our class, and formats that you just think might be interesting and ones that you could use with your own students, because ultimately that's the purpose here. You're going to create a page in an interactive notebook so that if you did that same assignment, obviously with a different topic, but that same task with your students, you would have your model to be able to show them. And so my model lets me do that. That's the quality I'm shooting for in mine. I'll let you choose what quality you're selecting in yours. But remember, your goal here is to be inspirational to your students so that they care about their interactive notebooks. If you have questions about the final project, be sure to email me. Looking forward to seeing your original 4 pages on your own topics and your own formats as they roll in with the final project. Thanks very much. Have a great day, everybody.